honestly, the way I got into the NFL was a miracle. London is definitely still home for me, 100%.
Do you still head back to your old haunts?
Still do, yeah. Oh, listen, I'll go back.
1, 2, 3, defense, let's go!
The more people see his story, the more inspiration it gives people to think that to themselves, I'm just like Efe. I can do exactly what he did.
The road to the NFL is well-travelled, but littered with pitfalls and broken dreams. Typically, that journey begins age 5 or 6 and encompasses high school and college before a select few reach the promised land. Efe Obada's route wasn't like many who've gone before, but then again, his story is far from typical. His journey to America's biggest show began age 20, far from the glitz and glamour in South London.
One of my friends, Josh Hastings, played American football for the Warriors, and he saw my size. We were similar built. We went to college together, and at the time, he was very skinny. He's very mager. And when I saw him again, he had some size on him, and he told me that he's playing American football, and I would be a good fit. So I went down, and I thought nothing of it. Like, honestly, it was the first time seeing helmets and pads and all these things. It was very strange. Like, I've never seen anything like that in South London. I think I knocked someone on the ground, thought I did something wrong. Everybody was cheering and happy, and it was just that embrace, and it was that, okay, well, if I do this more and I can be physical, then that kind of was drawing me to it.
Obada's progress was rapid, and he became the first player to go straight from the European Football League to the NFL. But reaching the pinnacle is one thing, staying there another thing entirely. After spells in Dallas, Kansas City and Atlanta, the breakthrough came in Charlotte. From there, the journey continued in Buffalo and ultimately Washington. The average NFL career lasts a little more than 3 years, and as an outsider, that battle for acceptance can be long and arduous.
It took me a while. It took me a while because initially it was, okay, I'm in a different country, different culture. Then it's, okay, I'm playing a sport that I've never played before. And not only am I navigating real life in a different country, I'm also trying to learn a different sport, train my body and this different lifestyle as an athlete, learn the different languages and the terminologies, just learn the rules of the game. So it took me a while, and then also just being thrusted into that limelight, and I didn't understand how huge that was, like how huge the NFL was. So it took me a while. There was stages where I felt like I didn't belong. I had imposter syndrome just because of the knocks that I had early in my career. I didn't have success off the bat, lots of rejection, lots of fighting and having to claw and stay around and just keep knocking at the door and keep improving. And, there was a time where I was out of the league for a year and I wanted to go to Canada and, just trying to develop. So that plays on your confidence, and especially when you don't know the game, you're getting your ass kicked every day, and that is that mental fortitude to kind of stick with it, that, it's going to pay off eventually. So yeah, it took me a long time to get comfortable, and even to some degree I'm not comfortable. I'm still learning. Every year it brings new challenges and, and new lessons.
Ose Umenyiora is one of Britain's NFL pioneers. Drafted in 2003, having played high school and college football, he knows just how hard it is to make it to the professional game.
You got to think it's a sport that the entire country loves, the entire country is crazy about. Everybody wants to play the game. So they've been playing that game since they were 4, 5, 6 years old over there. So it's a very, very difficult sport to play, very competitive. Even getting into the college game is extremely competitive.
So what about reaching the NFL, having not played football in your formative years?
Highly improbable. But the good thing about somebody like Efe is he's an outstanding athlete. And that's the good thing. And that's the main differentiating factor between the NFL and a lot of other sports is if you have an extreme level of athleticism, size, intelligence, you can translate and make it to the game rather quickly. And all these things play to Efe's advantage.
In the context of Obada's life, fighting for a place in pro football is just another obstacle that's been overcome. Born in Warri, Nigeria, Obada left the country of his birth with his sister aged 5 or 6 and moved to the Netherlands, where he remembers meeting his mother for the first time. At 10, he and his sister were trafficked to the UK and abandoned. The pair were looked after by a security guard in Hackney before social services took them in. From there, they moved from home to home, never truly settling, and endured no end of hardship.
How much do you remember of your early days in this country?
Just a normal kid, really. Just going to school, wanting to go to college, university, playing outside. Just regular stuff, really. Yeah.
How much of what happened to you in those early days do you think shaped who you are as a person now?
I think just in terms of growing in foster care, just the instability and just uncertainty of where, just not having a place to call home. I feel like it translates in terms of being in the NFL. Just the fact that there's just this level of uncertainty. You can be on one team with this moment, you can be on another team, living out of a suitcase. That's something I still do right now. Just this global lifestyle that I have, and just being comfortable and being uncomfortable, I guess.
Were you angry about your situation when you were growing up?
There were situations where I definitely was angry and I was frustrated, but my journey isn't uncommon. And a lot of people that I grew up around, a lot of friends of mine in similar situations, I'm very fortunate that I was able to have the opportunities that I was presented and made the most of them. For me, the people that were around me had similar situations. There was an understanding, or their parents were in similar situations, so there was this level of understanding. So it just felt normal to me, it's just what it was, the cards that I was dealt. But it wasn't until I got into the NFL and just got older, started seeing different environments and and having different conversations, that I was able to kind of look back and understand that, okay, well, this part of my life wasn't normal, going through this wasn't normal. These things that I've normalized and just deemed, it wasn't normal.
A lot of people find solace in sport. Was that the case for you?
Initially, yeah, it was this outlet of frustration, and it allowed me to be physical, allowed me to exert my anger and frustration of my situation or lack of opportunities that I had. It just kind of led to something amazing, that afforded me a great life and allowed me the opportunity to give back and have an impact in my community.
Tannehill under pressure, and down he goes. And Obada with the sack for Washington.
I heard you on a podcast saying that you've been running away from something in your life, which I found was interesting because of your role in American football as defensive end. You're always running towards something. Have you ever worked out what it is you're running from?
I think the lack of opportunities, the frustration just of where I was, an immigrant, couldn't work, couldn't further my education, the area I grew up, the people that were around me. There's only a certain amount of options that you have, and given those cards, and eventually you're just even going to get pulled in a certain direction, and that's kind of what I was running away from, because in my heart, that's not really who I am, and your environment kind of turns you into someone else, or makes you, just so you can survive, so you can provide, and I think that's what I was running away from. So given an opportunity like the NFL, something so big like that, I was able to, I didn't even have a passport before the NFL. And I was able to get me on a plane. Even when I was in the practice squad, I was making really good money that I was able to send back home. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to hold on to this because I know what's waiting for me. I know, and that's not what I wanted for myself.
While you identify as British, thus far you've been unable to get a British passport, which must be incredibly frustrating.
It was frustrating. I was in foster care, and when I was a minor, they were supposed to sort it out for me and sort out my immigration and my papers, but I did fall through the cracks. They didn't sort it out. I aged out, rules changed, and unfortunately I wasn't able to get it, and I'm still fighting to get it. And although I do feel British, I still feel like it's a country that just kind of doesn't, accept me. But, hopefully, with time, I'll be able to get that, and then that can be just a part of my life that'll be behind me.
Does it hurt, that feeling of not being accepted, given the fact that you do so much?
A little bit, but these are the crosses and these are hurdles that I have to overcome and I have to bear. I have a lot of empathy because, like I said, I grew up around people that were in similar situations and are still in similar situations, probably have more of a right to be in the country than I do because of the amount of years they've been in this country, but still are struggling and fighting and going through solicitors and having to, adjust based on the rules and changes that are happening in the UK. And some of them can't even leave the country, and I'm very fortunate and I'm blessed that I have the ability to go in and out as I please. It's just having that indefinite and ability to just kind of call England my home and be recognised as a British citizen.
A traumatic upbringing often leaves scars. In many cases, they aren't always visible to the naked eye or obvious to those who carry them.
You're involved heavily in Mind. What is your role with them?
I think they're a great foundation, a great charity that has a huge impact. For the NFL, every year you get to choose my cause, my cleats. And this year, because I went into therapy, and I just saw the impact, I saw the change in terms of like how I treat people, how I view the world. You know, it just impacted everything. My confidence when I play, how I dealt with issues that when growing up, and how, and then how I cope with certain things. And I think Mind offers that space, and that's why I wanted to work with them. And it's important for people to kind of go there, and if they're having issues.
The environment in the NFL, it's very macho, it's very alpha male. Mm-hmm. So opening up about how you feel might be seen as a sign of weakness, but how did you sort of marry the two aspects of your life with that together?
Not just only in the NFL, right? Just even in the communities, even in the African households, in lots of households, it is very taboo. And especially as a man, it's well, just get on with it. There's always this mindset of, oh, someone else has it worse, so you just kind of negate your feelings and and pushes it down. And I have an amazing platform, and I felt some type of way, and it was impacting my life. It was impacting the way I treat people. It was impacting my relationships. And I wanted to fix that. This isn't something that I could have the opportunity to do it years ago, but I didn't have that. Like I said, it was very taboo. I didn't have the space. I've been programmed to feel like, okay, well, just get on with it. It is what it is. Why? And also, I felt guilty because I was like, well, I'm an NFL player. What do I have to complain about? It's a huge thing. Men are killing themselves. People are depressed. And people don't know how to cope with what they're dealing with. People are acting out on autopilot on certain things and not understanding why.
Did you feel a great weight off your mind when you started to open up?
At first, I was scared. My mind, I was so scared. I didn't know how it would be received. I felt so exposed. I felt vulnerable. It was so therapeutic. Once I got it out and I started talking, and I said, this is my stance and this is what I believe and it really helped. Honestly, it really helped. I even got in front of my team and spoke about my journey, and to use that to kind of galvanize and bring everybody together and just express just the gratitude and the immense privilege that we have as NFL players. And honestly, I would never, years ago, I would never do something like that, but it just kind of shows how helpful, looking after your mental health was for me and impactful it was for me. It's really helped me.
What was the response from your teammates when you did talk to them about your situation?
It's funny, at first I was, when I was out there, my heart was beating, but then I shared it, everybody clapped, and afterwards we went into our next meeting. But then over the course of the weeks, people just started coming to me and just kind of expressing, they appreciate me sharing. And then they also, it just kind of created that platform for them to share their experiences and their journey as well. And that was amazing. I learned so much about my teammates. I was able to connect on a deeper level, and then also I gained friendships to a point. And yeah, so it was very helpful.
I was going to say, has it made you a better player, do you feel?
100%. It's made me definitely more confident, made me more trusting in my abilities and where I come from. Initially, I had imposter syndrome, and I feel like that's gone. I've accepted my role and who I am as a person, and I've kind of detached from my past and my internal voice and who I see. It's not as negative, and even when it does get negative, and when I do dip, I have the tools and the recognition and awareness to understand that, okay, well, I feel this way, instead of catastrophizing or spiraling, into a certain place.
Efe Obada, the fifth-year man out of Nigeria, with his first sack of the season.
Former pro coach Jerry Glanville once famously declared that NFL stands for not for long due to the short career span at the top of the game. This makes Obada's longevity, coupled with his unusual rise to the top, all the more impressive.
The average career in the NFL is 3 years, 3.3 to be exact. So the fact that somebody who's come from his background, come from the places that he came from, not played the game for an extended period of time, has been in the NFL for double the league average, is a testament to this guy's character, is a testament to his athletic ability, is a testament to his will, his spirit. and he's going to keep on playing for quite a few more years, we expect. He's intelligent, he's very aggressive, very, very athletic, his size, obviously. So all those things you combine into one person, and you have a guy who's been in the league for 7 years now.
As a 7-year veteran of the NFL, Obada has lived in various cities and states across the USA. American football has given him a life he could have only dreamed of, but he's never forgotten where he comes from.
So back in London, is London still home for you?
London is definitely still home for me, 100%, yes.
How does life in the USA compare to life in England?
It's totally different, you know, because life in the UK it was different because I was younger. I went through the traditional school system and working a normal job, and then in the NFL, I'm some NFL player. I'm an NFL player, you know. I'm a star, so yeah, it's definitely different.
How do you feel whenever you come back home?
I feel grounded, I feel humbled. The NFL is it's this all-consuming thing, you know, and it's this, we're all in this echo chamber of football and these large amounts of wages and, you know, and salaries and, you know, and just being around the best of the best and everything. And then you come back home and it's just, you know, you get to see just the disparity and, you know, and it's just different. It's just different.
Do you still head back to your old haunts, or do you try to avoid that?
Oh, no, I still do, yeah. Oh, listen, I'll go back. Yeah, I'll go back, man. Yeah, because especially I do some work with the Big Kids Foundation, and they're based in South London. They're doing a lot of stuff across London as well. So I try to go and spend time with the kids and interact with them.
Efe is a fantastic story. You know, he's been through so much to get to where he is and trained so hard to play at the level he's now playing at. And he's really, you know, someone for the young people to look up to. He came from London and they're from London too. And, you know, if he can do it, it allows those young people to believe that they can as well.
What's it been like getting to meet Efe?
Oh, he's been quite loud, hasn't he?
Has it changed much from when you first got here and you were growing up there?
In terms of American football, yeah, definitely. Like the sport's grown immensely. Like it's honestly just taken over and it's becoming a part of the English culture.
Does it help remind you of how far you've come yourself?
It does. Just being able to play in the league for this long, and then also seeing the new generation of kids not just going after just traditional football, and they're talking about American football, you know, flag football, and just wanting to go over to America and study, and just being able to do that is huge. Like that, those sort of conversations were never happening in my community.
I feel like it's given me a lot of confidence. It's given me a lot of life skills. American football, especially flag, it's very family orientated. I can't wait for like the next 5-10 years, because I know for a fact you'll see a lot more young people involved, a lot more young girls as well.
Would you like to create something sort of permanent in South London? Something that might open pathways up for people?
100%. I think like moving forward, one of my dreams is to have my own facility, my own training facility where people can come and watch kids can come and just have that place, that safe haven. When I was growing up, I used to go to like youth centers, you know, and I used to, you know, that's where I used to do my homework. That's where I made friends. That's where I used to just play games because you know it was just this safe place and this sense of community. If you just didn't want to be hanging out on the road, so if I can create that space, if I can help streamline and create more opportunities through American football and try and get in the grassroots levels and streamline that process, because honestly, the way I got into the NFL was a miracle.
The more people see his story, the more people understand where he came from, the more hope that it gives people, the more inspiration it gives people to think that to themselves, that, hey, I'm just like Efe. I can do exactly what he did. I didn't have to be playing this game since I was a young kid to be able to make it to the highest level. So it's a massive inspiration for a lot of people.
Your experience is part of the reason why you're so heavily invested in the NFL programs outside the actual game itself.
Definitely, because like my NFL career is mine. It's for me, and you know, and I'm been afforded this platform. My journey is my journey, and there's a certain demographic of kids and communities and people that I can reach. You know, I don't see Odell Beckham or these stars reaching these South London kids just because they might admire them and appreciate the accolades, but this is because of where they're from, the connection, the white gold tooth, the accent, the understanding of South London or even the UK in general. I'm able to connect, and even also just the African background as well. you know, the immigrant lifestyle, the immigrant parents, the, you know, the journeys that I'm able to connect with these kids, and I'll be doing an injustice if I don't make the most of the platforms that I have and try and reach back. Because I would have wished for someone to do that for me and show that it's possible.
You do have Nigerian roots. How do you stay in touch with them?
Music, food, you know, like when I feel homesick, just because of the different cultures I experienced going to America and having to like kind of assimilate and in that culture. Just when I feel homesick, that's my go-to. African food, the music, the film, the language, you know, the banter, the kind of the interactions, you know, all of it. Like it's who I am. It's deep rooted in my DNA. Like I'm an African man. You know, like.
If you're only allowed one African dish, what would be your go-to meal?
Oh God, because one, that's crazy. I'll be fat. Yeah, so my go-to African is pounded yam and egusi. Obviously, classic. You can't go wrong with the jollof rice. It's very meat heavy, you know. So like anything, all the meats, like yeah.
You're right. You can't go wrong with jollof rice.
No.
You do a lot of work with NFL Africa. What does that involve?
Honestly, it's just anything to promote the culture, anything to promote and create opportunities back in Africa. Going back to Africa with the camps, the IPP program, letting people know that there's a space here, you know, for Africans.
Does it have a big following in Africa?
Yeah, there's flag football. There's, you know, and there's lots of talent. I'm telling you, there's so much talent that, you know, I need the NFL to kind of go over there and understand that, you know, Africa is an untapped market in terms of talent for the NFL and on sports in general.
The final chapters of Obada's story have yet to be written, but few would bet against a Hollywood ending. Since birth, Obada has been fighting against forces beyond his control. This has truly been a journey against the odds. Anything you'd like to achieve before you hang up your cleats?
There's quite a lot of things. I want to obviously would love to win a Super Bowl. You know, I think that's the ultimate goal. As you know, in your career, there's Hall of Famers that never achieved a Super Bowl, so I would love to do that. Pro Bowl, I'd love to do that as well and experience that. I feel like those games I'll be really good at.